my experience in Freshman Honors English 117, I've decided to base my analogy of the year off of the 1500-meter race in track and field. My main inspiration for this analogy was because the race is 4 laps around the track, the same amount of quarters in the year. For the start of the year, I felt like I started out pretty strong. We dove right in and went pretty fast from the beginning. Ever since quarter 1, I decided to dive in pretty deep. One of my favorite essays I wrote in quarter 1 was one I entitled Folding. It's about a man who survives a plane crash and all the psychological tolls that it takes on him. Another one of my favorite essays is The 6 Degrees of Separation from The Catcher in the Rye. I entitled it Mirror on the Wall, and yeah, that was good. Another one of my favorite essays was the personal narrative that we wrote. I thought mine was pretty deep and felt good to write it on paper. Okay, so for the second quarter, I really focused on analyses and getting to the bottom of things and really understanding what they mean. So some of the really good essays I had this quarter featured the literary analysis of Dead Poet Society, an analysis of Tuesdays with Maury, and an analysis of the You're Not Special graduation speech. During quarter 3, there was a very large focus on the poetry unit. Arguably, this was my best quarter because poetry is I feel, one of my strongest subjects, and it's also one of the ones I enjoy the most. So, for this quarter, I had a lot of good poems that I wrote, and one of my favorites is called Anarchy and Aristocrats. And here it is. There comes a time when something must be done before the door is sealed shut forever. The corruption has already begun, causing this God-forsaken endeavor. Greed, envy, and power, blooded and golden, hand in hand, polluting the pure water that is relied upon and beholden, slandering far more than what they slaughter. Soon their cries will echo in the darkness, pleading and crying for their salvation. Their scarred victims and God as their witness, their screams answered with their damnation. Power in the hands of the endeavored, when the head-weave slave thunder has been severed. My main deficiency for quarter 3 is a unique one. It's normally a strength for me, but I've been focusing on so many other aspects of writing that it actually became a deficiency. The sky was on fire, burning up right above the earth. The sun was set low towards the horizon, a ring of blood-red light that bathed the land in a scarlet hue. It was an eclipse more remarkable than any that has been seen in centuries. It caused the sky to warp into a flaming canvas of crimson red, streaked with orange and purple light like waves of amber. The clouds were a dark orange, like tongues of fire shooting down from the heavens. Columns of dark red clouds were slowly rolling in from across the sky like willows of smoke. White snow fell from the sky like ash, covering the scorched plains in a smoldering blanket of frost. Reaching up to pierce the sky was a lone mountain. The light was creating the slopes and snow-covered forest at its base to turn a bloody hue. At the base of the mountain lay a grove in the forest. Walls of trees surrounded it, some so tall it seemed impossible to see their tops, but none stood taller than the mountain, its tip hidden from the eye by flaming spires of clouds that surrounded it. A lake of crystal clear water lay in the center. The polished surface mirrored the scene above. causing the water to look like a sea of fire. Every ripple shined a different shade of red on the ochre-colored waters. Mist filled the clearing, casting in a deep scarlet shadow from the sun's light. On the third lap, your mind usually tends to wander, and I wrote a lot of fantasy and poem during this quarter, so it's kind of fitting. Now, after 3 quarters of school, this is all it comes down to, the final quarter. The last and final hurdle of the year was possibly my biggest one: organization. It's been a problem I've had for a while, and this year I really decided to work on fixing it. It's been my biggest, and I've had many attempts, but overall, I think I've improved it greatly. My first real failure for organization was actually at the beginning of the year with the Catcher in the Rye test. I didn't plan out how I was going to take the test and ended up spending way too much time in writing way too much information on the less heavily weighted section of the test that I should have spent on the more heavily weighted part of the test, and because of that I didn't get to finish, and it resulted in a very bad grade that could have been avoided with simple organization skills. My second failed attempt at working on my organization problem was with the To Kill a Mockingbird Mad 40. For it, I didn't really write my ideas in cohesive thoughts and in order, and it kind of came out as a jumbled mess, and I scored low in that section. So it's one of the things that prompted me to start working more towards it. The third and final attempt to fix this deficiency was on the research paper. My partner and I created the 50 flashcards, an outline, and a rough draft of the research paper that helped us create a quality product without being pressured for time or worrying about deadlines. Those organization skills helped us make a better product that we probably would not have been able to achieve without using those skills in the first place. After this, we really won't have that much work left. We only have a few more classes, so I'm planning on this being the big final kick, and that will end the year on hopefully a pretty strong note.